Do you find that there are general overarching things that every company can do better in order to grow? And so when you move in, eventually you'll customize, but there are those overarching things that you really...
So I don't even customize. I learn the sector really well. That's part of the job, right? You've got to know. So 20% of the job is knowing the sector. Mm-hmm. And so I walk in the door and I oftentimes know little or nothing about the sector. My last deal before the one I'm in now was health information technology, health IT. What do I know about that? So, but in the time that I was there, I learned a lot about it. I learned about the competitive marketplace. I learned about the business. I learned about the sort of the KPIs of what make that, the key performance indicators that make that business work, all the knobs and dials that actually move it. Mm-hmm. But that was 20% of it. 80% of it is not learning anymore, but taking all the experiences that I've had and turning them into a plan for growing a business. Mm-hmm. Because you grow a business around the same stuff over and over and over again. And so the question I always get is, well, doesn't that get kind of old? And the answer is no, because you leaven it with the new sectors and all the things that make it really interesting, right? That's mm-hmm. new. So I make a habit of changing sectors almost every time I change roles. And so, but to your question, 80% of the business is blocking and tackling in specific areas and understanding that you're really growing a solid business. And if you don't think that way, you need to change your thinking, because that's ultimately how you grow a business.
Right. So what do you find are some of the common mistakes that, let's say, a company that obviously can afford you, right? Because some of these, I work with a lot of startups that, they are cash strapped, they are bootstrapping it all the way. But by the time that they actually put in their own time, money, effort, do their round A seed funding and certain rounds funding, and they can afford somebody like you, what do you find when you walk in the door are some of the mistakes that these companies make that might be able to be avoided or considered at an earlier stage?
So I don't think they can be completely avoided, because part of what happens is you evolve as you grow. So to your point, when you're in a smaller company, you're earlier stage, lower on the evolutionary scale, right? You're sort of at this level. You haven't begun that curve, or you're not in the growth phase, wherever you are. You're way back here. You can't afford to do a lot of the things that you want to do. So you can't afford to hire a super experienced controller or a CFO or administrative people, the things that really sort of build the foundation, the footings and the foundation and the framework around which you then build a real business. So I've seen so many of these. Entrepreneurs think, I've got a great idea, and that great idea is going to make me rich, number one, and it's going to be what makes me successful. And it's not. It's just not. And all you have to do is look around and see all the failures that have occurred that were really good ideas. And some of them are the obvious ones. You hear about Beta versus VHS, right? Beta was a far better product than VHS, but they didn't know how to build a business.
You're talking to the journalism person.
I got it.
Worked all in Beta.
Exactly.
It is.
So, or look at HD versus Blu-ray, right? Or look at all these. That's the technology side of things. But look at great businesses that really started out as really crappy businesses and grew and became very successful businesses, while their potentially stronger rivals, right, in terms of their capabilities or whatever they brought to the table, failed. Why did that happen? And it's because many a really good idea was destroyed by not building a framework around that idea so that it could thrive.
Right.
So you walk in the door and you go, I got a great idea. It's going to make me a big success. And the answer is no, it's not. It's going to give you the opportunity to be a big success, but the way you become that big success is ultimately you build a real business around it.
Right.
And so you lay the footings, you put in the foundation, you lay out the framework. And the framework is building processes that help the business run successfully. And it's not for the sake of process. That's one thing that I constantly preach, is you don't build process for the sake of process. You build process so that you can scale. And scaling means the following, and if there's one phrase that I've used for almost 100 years now,
You're not that old.
Okay, 98. So, but the phrase is, you got to be able to do the same thing over and over and over again and get the same answer. And I've never walked into an early stage company where that actually happens.
Interesting.
Ever. In a simple process such as revenue, right? a company says, well, you know, if we do this, then the revenue means that.
Right.
But if we do this, then the revenue means that. And they're talking about the same thing. But the problem is you get different answers.
Right.
So what it means is you have to tweak and twist, and you have to change your processes in each case to get to the same answer. And what you want is something that takes all the friction out of running a business. So if you can do a process over and over and over again, if you know that when I acquire the customer, I provide the service, I look at that service and I run the analysis that allows me to recognize my revenue effectively in a consistent way all the time. And I then do it again and again and again, which means that, you know, rinse and repeat. So I can start again and do the same thing with the next customer and the same thing with the next customer, the same thing with the next customer, and it's really easy, right? So the outcome of that is that you can add customers more quickly than you could otherwise. And that's what scale's all about. So my saying over and over again, and I'll say it again, is you gotta be able to do the same thing over and over again and expect the same answer. And if you don't like the answer, fine. Do something else over and over again and get a different answer. But be able to make sure you get a consistent outcome every time you do it.